Okay, good evening and welcome to Chris FE and another instalment of a P900 camera. This one has been reported as having no pictures being taken. Everything else functions with the camera that I can see, so I shall open it up and power it on. So the red light's flashing there because there's no date set. I could easily do that quickly. I don't see why really. I'll just show you how to do it. Date stamp, settings I want, type zone, date and time, date month, yeah, we'll just leave it as that. Stop that light flashing. And I've got the camera lens off, and as you can see there's no picture. So if I raise the flash and let's do I don't know, let's put the flash on just for the sake of it. And yeah, it's already charged because it's not flashing. Take a photo, and it doesn't show a photo, and it's blank. You heard the shutter mechanism work as if you probably heard it, but what that's doing, it's a pre-recorded shutter mechanism to make it sound as if the shutters open and close. It's not actually the physical mechanical thing of it happening, because you can turn that shutter mechanism off. So again, what's probably happened inside the camera is that the shutter mechanism is jammed, and it's probably jammed shut. And I have had a few of these examples of these, and the first thing to do is to strip out the back. Let me put the original Nikon lens cap back on. Really is in good condition, this camera. It's been well looked after, and by the look of it, it's never been opened. And so, yeah. And just for the record, Nikon are not making any more of these. And I suppose getting these fixed and put back out there keeps them in use, I guess. And there's always people looking for these cameras, and prices are going up all the time, I suppose, especially for second-hand ones. And I do have a repair return service on eBay, just for, you know, lens issues, it can be for anything really. I've recently done one for a chap who had a spot on his IR plate, it turned out to be, and he decided to leave. He asked me to just remove the IR plate, which I did, and he bought himself some filters, and yeah, he was quite over the moon with it, and left me some lovely feedback on eBay. And yeah, but he loves the P9. He's got a DSLR camera as well, and I'm just waffling as I take these screws out of the back here. And so what I have to do is I have to remove the complete lens mechanism to get to the shutter, and hopefully it shouldn't take me too long to get through this. I could perhaps re-record this and do a time lapse, but it shouldn't take me too long. It should take about 10-15 minutes if I take my time doing it. Screw here. I've got a little pot where I store everything, so I don't lose any screws or bits and pieces. It should come out. Needs a little fight, that one. It happens. It's a bit strange, that one. There you go. Just persuade it out. Much of it, and that's it. Now there is another screw inside the HDMI cover, don't forget that one. screwdriver, CJ. I'm being partially blinded by this light here overhead. That's that fella. Close that back up and make sure we've got them all out. There's those two, or the two inside, yes. And I've taken these out, haven't I? Yes. So inside here, not sure if you'll be able to see it, there's a tiny little slot, and what you have to do is get a little flat blade in there into the little slot and then push up, and you should feel it just slip back. Put that back down. Now when you take this off, again be very careful, because you've got the cable, there's two cables connected here, and they don't like a lot of abuse. So when I take this off, I'm very mindful, and I pull it back this way, and you can see there where the two cables are, hopefully if I'm not in the shadow. And I'm supporting this, and that cable's nearly stretched at the time there, so I need my trusty little scalpel blade just to pop the grey edge connector towards me, and there's a brown one which comes forward as well. And once you pop those two cables, pop the two, needs a bit more persuasion because it's a longer one. There we are. He says, nearly there. Honestly, do I get that? There we are. And so there's nothing wrong with this. This will be stored safely at the back, out of the way. And then the next thing to do is get this silver plate off. And there's a few ways you can do it. And I can see that this has never been taken off before, because the zoom function cable is nicely situated with a little bend there along here. And what tends to happen is when you peel this back off of this plate, she rolls up. Oh, the plastic insert, mustn't lose that. And there is a screw underneath this cable that you need to get to, so I will take this cable out. It's for the dial switch. There we are. I don't need to remove that cable. That can stay there. Because this is coming over the plate, I need to remove the small thin one. There we are. That's that one. And it's up to you, whatever you find easier, either remove this cable, this side or that side. For me, well, I mean, I like to remove this side, personally. Simply because you'll stay on the PCB. There's that one, and that should be it for now. And now for all the screws. And there's one down on the, make sure I look at the camera so you can see this. Yeah, there's one down here to start with. Oh yeah, she's lovely and tight, that, so she's never been taken out before. Move along to this one here with the cable. Don't take the cable out just yet. Thankfully my screwdriver is magnetic. Oh, there's one here. One there at the top end, like so. Now just lift this cable gently. You'll expose that screw underneath there. And beside, oh, that's very yeah, it's nice and tight, that one, which is lovely to find. And on this one you have a little locating pip on here and on this end here, and you don't need to take these off. This plate is actually stuck down on this, there's a sticky pad under here. What I suggest you do now is remove the PCB screw, securing screw, which is there. This is a very, very small screw, and there's only one of these, and this is where it goes. Look at how small that is. That can go in, and then you take off the two, I don't know, shoulder screws for the flash unit, for the plate. That has to come out. Be very mindful of this small cable that sits very close to that screw there. You could take the cable out, but to be honest with you, it's easily manipulated. Yeah, it's a little tight, but yeah, maybe I'll get that board out to start with. She should just slide out as such. And you can move into one side, and then the screw is accessible then. Get that screw, come on. There we are. No harm done. And last but not least is to remove that cable. The only reason why I remove this last because she's sort of springy, she's in the way. So I just pop the blue upwards and get my little tweezers and just pop her out very, and then just gently peel this back from the metal plate, and she's going to want to there you are, see how she's coiled up there. You can straighten that out easily, and now the plate is ready to come off. Actually, did I take that one off? I didn't. There's another one here, see? It's always best to check. There's one there that I failed to remove once I'd taken this screw out under the cable. So that's going to come out. I suppose if I put this recording on eBay, you can put it up to 1 or 2 times speed. I might sound a bit funny, not that I don't already, but here we go. Now something just slightly, give it a little bit of persuasion, not very much force, and she should come off. And you need to just work it through that, and that's it, she's off. And that is the backing plate off. Put that safe. Now we have to get this whole mechanism out, because I need to get to the shutter mechanism. So that means now what I have to do is I also have to disconnect this cable here, which is for the sensor array or the CCD device, and also because this lens mechanism is going to come out, this connection here is for the motor and all the other bits and bobs on the zoom mechanism, and that comes from the back. So I have to actually make sure I get it right. I'll make sure I'm just going to have a quick look at that, see if she's, yeah. I don't want to snap any of these, it's important to get it right. Make sure I get under the lip, and there we are. Usually I have a big magnifying glass to do it, but I didn't want it to get in the way. That hasn't gone back down again, has it? No. And that should come out. There we are. She's out. Now, once that's out, to make it easier to get this zoom out, there's 4 screws which hold this zoom mechanism down and in, and there's one screw which is underneath the camera mount. So it's probably just as easy to take out the 2 screws for the camera mount and remove that, so you get easy access to the larger securing screw underneath. Move this to that side. That's that screw. And then save that for safekeeping, yeah. And you might be able to see in there, there's the securing screw there, and there's one down inside here, one up there, one up there. Now as you may see, this mechanism here is going to be in the way of this coming out. So it's better to remove the assembly, the flash assembly, move that back, and just so you can actually ease it out of the way. And there's a tiny little screw in here which secures that. So I'm going to take that tiny little black screw out of the out of the sensor assembly, the flash assembly. Now, what you have to do is, before this moves back, you have to push in the unlatch mechanism. And then you can actually get it to, I do beg your pardon, I'm jumping the gun a bit. There are two securing screws inside here you need to take off first. I was off put by the camera stopping, you see, because there's a time limit on the recording function. There we are. Another one on the other side. So there's three screws securing the flash unit in. I'm trying not to rush, but I am getting ahead of myself. There we are. That goes in there. Now I should be able to actually push this back once I push that pip in, and then I can get her back. Oh, she's popping out a bit. Let's get that in there. Make sure she goes. It's a bit fiddly, but you know, she'll go. There we are. And so once that's come away, so she's freed up a bit. Let me get that pip, which is there. It's alright, it just pushes back in right at the end. And so the cables now are actually getting a bit tight on this end. So what you can do is you can actually pop off the dial switch, and to access that you have, I should have taken the battery out first, but she is off. There's a screw right in the bottom of here which will allow this assembly to become loose. Let's take that out. There we are, and that's it. And then for this panel, there's another silver screw inside here which you can remove, which clamps that assembly down. Sometimes it doesn't want to come out with a magnetic screwdriver, but let's see. No, she is definitely loose, so get it out with my tweezers. No, she needs a bit of persuading. What about my bigger screwdriver? That's more magnetic, is it? No, come on. Always trouble with this one. Always trouble. It's a lot easier to get it back in. Are you patient with it? Nope. There we are. Okay, so not to worry, she's going to come out. She's dropped down the side. I can get that out later. So now we can actually unpop the dial panel. She should lift up quite easily. Just get a little bit of space in there. Pop her up, he says. They're always harder when they've not come out before. Yeah, that seems very hard, that. Very hard indeed. Let's get something thinner in there. I haven't missed anything. That should pop off. Yeah, we'll get that cable out as well. Make sure she's not... there's nothing there else to take out. As you can see, she wants to go. Definitely nothing else there. there we are, and that's all it is. This bit was really tight, and keep that safe as well. So now we'd probably be able to get this this whole mechanism out, and the cables will pop from their holders. That's it from there, yes, and we should be able to cajole it out and move it out of the way. So now we should be in good stead now to actually remove the lens assembly. I just want to get this up a bit more. It looks like major surgery, doesn't it? There we are. And I can just get that on the side. And then I've got easy access to all 4 screws. And they're quite large. So I've got 1. Two. Come on. 3. And then what you should see the body drop as I get the 4th one out. Here. Oh, let's just make sure we've got it in there. CJ. There you are. You see that drop slightly? So now what I'll be able to do is, without too much effort, let's take off the lens cap actually. Without too much effort, I should be able to just pull this out. Put the lens cap back on. Alright. And as you can see, if you look inside, it's absolutely clean as a whistle. So I'll just put this into there gently. Put this to one side for safekeeping, because I'll be taking it back soon, bringing it back sooner than you think. And this really is probably one of the hardest bits to do with this camera. I don't need to take the sensor array off, I can leave that, and I have a bit of cloth ready to actually cover it up. Let's use it, because I don't want any dust getting onto that CCD array. So there's 3 screws which hold this assembly down onto here, but first of all what you have to do is you have to remove this tiny cable and this one. That's for the fine focus motor, and this one is for the, or that one is the, well, the motor actually comes into here, and it's from that larger connector there. So, sorry, this one is for the sensor for the fine focus motor and the power for the motor, and this one is for the shutter mechanism. So that's in, as you can see. Now this one over here has no clamps on it, and you can just gently pull it up and give it a bit of persuasion. It shouldn't be too hard to get out. You don't need to hold it, just give it a little wiggle and it's out. And be mindful that there is a shoulder where they feed through, like a clamp. This one, I would have very much caution on this one. Again, you have to flip up the brown clamp. Now I would put my thumb here and just ensure that that thing doesn't push up, because it's very easy to lose this one. As you can see, look, you can see it's going to lift up there. So what I suggest to do is to hold it down and then push up the little clamp. There we are. As gently as you can. Don't use a tremendous amount of force, and then the cable will obviously come out. And there's a hole, securing hole for that, and it's got a bit of a shoulder on it too. It feeds through. So you can just unpip that, to be as gentle as you can, and then remove from the shoulder. Now what's going to happen, these 2 cables here are going to go back inside the unit, and believe it or not, you have to feed these back through. It's not I've tried a few different ways, and I found an easier way to do it. I'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But now I can remove the 3 screws with the right screwdriver. Yes, it was the right screwdriver. There we are. One. Now you think, well, all the screws are different sizes and lengths. I know, I've done so many, I know what they look like and where they go. There's 3 of each of those. The numbers do help. And just before I do that, incidentally, this is the motor for the gearbox. And as you can see, now I can start, and you see these 2 cables stay in situ and it lifts straight off. And there we are. But the inside here is the gearbox, and if people are using the camera and the camera falls and the lens is out, because this is a fixed drive here, it comes through here. So if you can see that there's this sensor array, see this little gear sticking out there, that will tend, this will be pushed and it will tend to try and turn, and it snaps that gear there inside. It's plastic, so I've fixed many of those. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wrap this up to make sure it doesn't get dusty, and I'm going to put this to one side as well. Now here's the fun bit. So as you can see, if you make a note of where this currently is, this is all the housing is in its home position. The cables are extended, as you can see. Now if I start to unwind this, what she does, she goes up and then she comes back again and then she goes out. And you'll see don't allow the cables to snag, bring it out gently, and then as soon as you get to that position, make a note of where you are on this assembly here. Now on this mechanism, you can see the runners, the static runners there. There should be one indented with an arrow, which is this fella here. So if I put it back in as it came out, which I believe is that way, it should go back in again, you see. So if you, and then that's it, back in its home position. Now if I take it out again, that's what happens when she powers on. She comes up and then back a touch, and then if you carry on zooming out, imagine if that's static and this is moving that way. So there we are. So I'm going to take it out. So this was the number 1 position here, and you should see a mark there. I'm not sure if that's denoting 1 to 1, but there you are. And again, I need to put in a cloth to keep the inside of that lens clean. I don't want to get any dust in there. I'm not in a clean room, not anymore. So we're just left with the 2 cables sticking out here. As you can see, this is part of the fine secondary lens or mechanism. Now you need to turn this upside down, and there's your end lens. You need to turn it fully clockwise, and so she pops out and pops back. You see that? How I brought her out? So I bring it out, let it pop. All you have to do now is to turn her upside down. Now when you put this back in, just for easy reference, there are 2 marks here. There's a circle there, a dot there, and a dot there, and a dot there. Now what I like to do, because I'm blind as a bat and a nerd, I just like to reference it with a mark so I know which 2 to use. Okay? Right, the camera's right, so the camera shut off and I didn't hear the beep, but it didn't go too far without me seeing that I hadn't finished. So again, I'm just going to line this up just to make sure I it's around this way and get it to drop in again and then come back. So you turn it round fully anti-clockwise, you can see it pop out and pop back again, see that? And then she will come out. And like I said, I'm going to wrap this in another cloth to keep it safe with everything else. And incidentally as well, when you put it back in, the shutter mechanism, and I can see the shutter mechanism in there, is already distorted. And so what I can do now is I can rotate this around the other way and she'll be ready to come out. Now what you have to bear in mind is that the big fat cable has dropped inside, and when you turn it upside down she falls out. So if you were me, I would leave that in that position now, because I don't need to separate this from the race housing. This can come out if you needed to replace the fine focus motor, which is inside there. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that. And as you can see, that's the cable that's left. Be very mindful of that cable, you don't want that to break. So I'm going to leave this housing as it is, because I know this will go back inside. And there's a cutout there, and that cutout can only go in one way. So but I don't want to put it back in because the cable has to go into the assembly first, and this cable will automatically extend when this thing moves in and out. Okay, well, this thing moves in and out because that is connected to the back side of the array assembly, as you saw. Now I'm going to put this to one side because I don't need that, but as you can see here, look, that's why you see this deformation here. Oh, I've lost my little there's that screw that dropped down, so I have a back. That was the screw that was holding the dial switch assembly in place, or the panel. So as you can see, that should be perfectly flat with a line down the middle. I'm sure you can see that. Let me see if you can see that. Yeah. Can I bring it closer? What if I zoom in on that for you? You can see how that's deformed. Yeah. So, what to do about it? Well, I'll show you. So, this actual shutter mechanism will separate, and there's two screws. Is there two screws or one screw? I think there's one. Sorry, I think there's one screw. Take the one screw off. I'm going to leave this screw here for the minute, and then there are two clamps. There's one clamp here and one clamp there. But first of all, what you have to do is remove this tiny little cable here, and as you can see, it wants to separate slightly now. And there's two shoulder pips on this cable, and again there's no clamp on it, and you could technically just wiggle it out and then use the two little tabs on that cable to help persuade it out. And a nice pair of fine tweezers should do, but the bar mechanism's in the way. Let's see if I can get a good grip on that. Yeah, she's quite in there tight, which is nice. There we are, got her out. And you might be able to see the very small tabs on that, which you can helps to push it back in again. Now once this is separated, you need to do the the cable. Once the cable's out, now you can just, with your thumb, be very mindful of these very fine wires here. They actually, the supply for these two little motors. One's open and one's closed. Whichever's which, I've no idea. But I know one's for open and one's closed. And just move that tab. We'll separate that tab and then gently separate this tab. And she will separate. Now I want to keep this clean as well. So I'm going to get myself another cloth. Yes, another cloth. And I'm going to wrap this up. And again, be very mindful of the cable. So let's put that one where you want to keep that. Be very mindful of that cable. So we've got a lot of parts in a lot of cloths, which is good. Now, as you can also see under here, you can, underneath the way that's distorted, what to do? Well, thankfully for us, what Nikon have got here is there's a little grey pip, not sure if you can see that, but in a slot. Let me see if I can get that up closer for you. Maybe not. Let's go try and zoom in again. See if she'll focus. Come on, focus. Where is it? It's actually here. Can you see that? Yeah, I'm out of the light now. And she's in the closed position. But what I can do with this, let me put the zoom back for you before I forget. Otherwise you won't see what I'm doing. I can actually open this up. I can force it to open by moving that pip, he says. There you are. Now, inside here, all these tiny little plates which come together, and I'm not sure what happened with the assembly of this. I've had a few of these with this fault. Now what I do is I get myself, it looks a bit big for the job. it's a heat gun. Now bear in mind I don't want to lose that little screw. I'm going to put that over there for the minute. Move that card out of the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up slightly. I've got to put that, I don't want to burn my hand. I'm just going to heat it up. Can you see that? No, perhaps not. Let's move that over there. I'm going to heat it up. I don't want to go too close. I'm just going to heat this whilst that shutter is opened. It's pointless me trying to straighten those little plastic sheets out. They're very delicate, they're very fine. You don't want to tear them. Now that's quite hot, that side. I want to, I say hot, it's warm. The plastic's warm and that heat will be permeating through now. And again I want to do a little bit on the top as well. That's lovely. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow this to cool under its own steam. So I should be back in a minute when it's completely cooled down. Okay, so she's cooled down now. Yeah. So I'm going to actually close the shutter mechanism again, and there you might be able to see the difference now. Look how neat and let me just check the camera so you can see it. Look how neat that looks now. Get it back into the light and zoom in. Will she focus? Come on. Focus. Bring it back a touch. I think it's there. So if you remember how it looked before, this is the actual same one, believe me. And I suppose as she went back into the housing, or what for a better word, and they heated it up, she had no other option but to flatten out and expand. And allowing it to cool down again, it's actually reformed itself in its home position, or its open position. So now she should, if I open this again, stay nice and flat. Why this actually went like that, I have no idea. It could have been some dirt or something. There's a slight deformation on one side, but that's so much easier now to oh yeah, there's hardly any effort at all. So do it one more time. Open, close. Very easy to move. And that should be it now for this shutter. So I'm going to get the other half of it and put it all back together again. Let's make sure that's nice and clean. That's a bit of an anti-vibration thing there, so it does. And again, the first thing to do is to line up the two catches and get those to clip in. If I can bring it around this way, it's easier to orientate because you have to get the cable back in, right? Like so. That snaps in there, and then this one snaps back in there, and then get the screw in. And if you remember, I put the screw up here. Screw goes into this side here. Now what I can't do now is open and close the shutter again. That should be, it's not too tight, but it is sufficient. And then get the cable back in. I'm going to have to try and do this without any magnifying glass. Can I do that? No, I can't really. So I'm just going to get this magnifying glass over here and do it through that, he says. Let's give that a little bit of a wipe off of any dust. Make sure I don't get any contaminants in there toward. And I'm going to actually put the cable back in. Yeah, there's no way I'd get that in there without a magnifying glass. Bring it back a touch here, so hopefully you can see it on camera. Try and get in straight. And then use those two shoulder pips to try and push it in home. It is quite tight. There we are. And that's it. That's the shutter mechanism back in. Give that a little bit of a wipe off. Make sure there's nothing on there. Give it a very, very gentle polish. Make sure there's no dust or debris. And then, because I hadn't sit there, glass out the way for a minute. Now, because I hadn't actually moved this any further around, this is going to go back in. You see there's a ledge there, if you like, for want of a better word, inside this assembly, and you have the cutout. This will only go in one way. We have to be very mindful now, the cable has to come out of the bottom here. So if you push this down and try and get that leading edge, which you'll get there, and if you just hold that in situ, you might, if you're lucky, be able to see the cable at the bottom and then just gently try and persuade her out. But what might be better is that if you now turn this, she should drop all the way down easily. And look, she's decided to come out. How lucky am I? Now, as you're aware, this was where we turned it fully this way, and now we have to get the other lens back in situ. And if you remember, I made 2 marks. Just want to, I've got a tiny smudge on this lens here I want to clean off. Let's make sure that that's too damp, that cloth. That's too damp as well. I've got a dry one. Oh yes, I've got a lint-free cloth here. That should do. Got a small smudge on there. Right, so I'm having problems with the batteries at the moment, so... Right, so I was just cleaning this up, happy with that, and the top. And if you remember, I said about the 2 marks, and it will go in this way, and it drops straight down, and you should be able to get that up, and then she will drop down all the way there, hopefully, he says. And we've got the cables there. Let's just make sure that does. Yep. Okay. And perhaps I might want to remove those little marks now. There we are. Not that it's an issue. Let's get a tiny swab of alcohol on that. Clean that all up. That's nice and clean, he says. And then the cable's already out at the bottom, so I can just take that one back down. That seems to be jamming slightly there, I'm not sure what's up with that. Let's see if that will come out again. I think that should go a bit further than that. Yeah, it's not that's in the way, is it? Just checking to make sure the cable isn't snaggy. That isn't all the way down. Yep. I want to actually make sure. That's that pip, that's that one. Don't think that's right. Yeah, I thought I had it right. 2 pips, one there, possibly there. think that's it. Right, yeah. That's it. So now the sliders aligned on the 3 parts there. So what can happen now is you get the main lens body, and if you remember what I said, there should be an ident here which has got an arrow and number 1, and that number 1 will go into there should be a number 1 on here with an arrow. It's this one here. So that race has to go into that one there, and as I see, that's that fella there, he says. And what should happen is she's not coming down now. Why is that? Oh, well, it's not fully aligned. Make sure she's aligned. It should be that one. Sorry, get that aligned there. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky. So have I done something wrong? I didn't think I had. She doesn't want to go in there. That's that way. Yep. That will come back here. And then number 1. So that should be the number 1 there. It doesn't want to go in for some reason. Now this is real time, people. Let's try and try. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was one to the left, not to the right. Okay, so now as she's slotted in, you don't need to force it, and she will drop down, and there you are, up, down, and that's the home position. Now notice how long that cable is. You can actually leave that as it is, or you could technically feed it back down through very gently. So she'll go down. I'll use a nice little thin. There you are. So she's not going to snag. There you are. So she's in that race, and now she'll be ready now to take the sensor array. And this is where the fun begins, because you have to get both of these cables through the orifices in the sensor array. Easy, right? Now what I tend to do is I place it over in situ, obviously small and the large one through these 2 orifices here. And what I do first is get the larger one in. I get it as near as I can under the light. Make sure she can go in. Just bend her up to persuade her to go a bit more vertical, like so. Maybe if I come around the other way. Done this a few times. You can see her there. Come on. Patience is the order of the day. You might want to fast forward this, but I will get it. Just maybe a bit more length on that cable. See if I can get that into there. She bends right at the end. That's quite it's quite a thing. It bend it the other way, see if I can get that a little straighter. We've just got to make sure it's in that slot. Oh, nearly. Oh, that was very, very nearly. There we are, come on. What was that? You wouldn't believe me if I told you I did this in about 10 seconds last time. Right. There we are. And then what I can do is I can force that down. Once it's back in there, and then this one, once this sits down in situ, I'll bring this one in. I'll let it sit down, and then I can actually hook her out. Actually, I'm going to use a very fine piece of wire for that. That's around. Oh, it's so simple. Now you should feel this sit in situ. I put that cable down. I'm not sure why I can't feel that sit down properly. There we are. She will go, and then once it's in situ, she will. Will she turn slightly? I thought it should sit in a lot tighter than that. Yeah, she shouldn't turn that easy. Oh, I think if it's down, there we are. It's just a little click to get the gears into a line, and now I can get the 3 screws in before I do anything else. Down, that's 1. Oops. Two. And 3. So that's the 3 assemblies back in, and she's not moving, and that's the zoom mechanism back together again once the shutter mechanism has been resolved. And this is now ready to go back into the main body of the camera. So I shall bring it over here. Get rid of my little resistor hook. And as we can see, this is how we left it. Put it right back around this way, get this out of the road. Just place it gently there. And this time it should be just as it's going to orientate this way because the gearbox sits on that side. Just drop her into situ, And now it's not going to sit directly all the way down, because you've got to bring the body up slightly, like so. And the idea would be is to get one screw in just to try and hold that lens up, and it's the biggest of the screws that you need, he says. Let me just get that onto the screwdriver. There we go, and drop it down. Any one you want, just one that's easily seen. I take the one at the back there, which sits beneath the camera mount. That's one, and now the body's staying where it is, I can get the other screws in easily without too much fudgery-do. This one here. Oh, guess what I didn't do? Oh dear, guess what I didn't do? My word. I didn't put the cables back in. So, again, I'm trying to get ahead of myself, and I'm doing this real time, and I'm trying to think how to explain the next step. So, just pull that back out again, and let's get the cables in. I'm so glad you pointed that out to me, because I had to put it all back together again without realising. Now, this should be... I need to get the glass again for this, he says, just to get that cable in. It should fit. It should be the same length as it was before. Right, so as the camera stopped, I just went ahead and got the two cables back in, and as you can see, they're under the shoulders here, under the shoulders there and there. They're nicely in, and she can go back into the housing this time. And like I said, it goes in with the gearbox to this side, to the left of the unit as you look at it, and she's dropped down there. And again, one screw in first to get the housing to sit in the correct place. Let's get that around to there. There we are, she slots in. Mindful of the cables. That one screw in. There we are, and she should stay where she is, and now I can get the others in with impunity. Yes. That's the two. Three. And then fourth down here. There we are. So now the lens housing is back home, and it's still got the cap on. Yeah, the lens cap. And now we get the flash array and the viewfinder assembly back in situ. Just be very mindful of the cables that are in the way, and then basically what you do is just put it into the guides and bring it all the way back home. And to stop it falling out again, we'll put that very small black screw back into that little hole there. And that small screw, there's only one. There's this fella here. There you are, very small one indeed. Put that in first. And she's sitting in there snug. We could put the pip in, I suppose, now. That won't hurt, will it? I suppose we can. And it should be this way around. There we Yep, there we are. Shut it down, open up, shut it down, open up, shut it down. There we are. There we are. Get that back down. And so we need to secure these, this shutter in, and they were two little smaller, they look like they're serrated type of screws, which is one of these, one each side. That holds the back of the lens mechanism in. Where's the other one? There we are. That's there. I think you might be able to see where I'm putting it. Okay. I suppose what I could do is put the two screws back in for the cable mount. You don't want to forget that. Now I've got the that screw back in. That'll be one of these. Two of those there. One. You can speed this up if you want. I'm going to get it to the position where I can power up the camera, so I can actually test. I might just connect it up without connecting the back plate. Just connect all the cables and then put the back cover on, clip it, and then battery in, card, and see if the system comes up. But I have to get the, while this is still a bit loose, I can get the, what was it, the dial switch back in. Bearing in mind these cables will need to be sat down properly. There's a very fine little grip holder underneath here for the four cables. And they go into there. Brown, white, blue, grey. Yeah. They should sit in there and there and there. Get that one down. There we are. Behave yourself. There we are. And that cable will come over the top. These pads here, these black plates, are one, they secure the cables down as well, but they also stop you from getting zapped by or discharging the capacitor, which is a few hundred volts in it for the flash if it was charged up if you didn't discharge it, so you won't get zapped by it. And then this cable, I'll have to make sure this is out. Let me show you that a bit better. This cable and that cable need to be extruded out the back, and then the side, this side part goes inside, and you see the strap holder will come through that slot. So as long as those cables are out, you should then just gently push it down and it should be there. And then what you need to do is get the screw, that screw I had trouble getting out, which fell out at the end. Get that one in. I've got it here, he says. Use a screwdriver, CJ. There we are. And that'll hold that in place. And then there's another screw which goes up inside to the bottom of the battery compartment. Yeah, make sure I don't drop that this time. There we go. And she's in. Nice and tight. And it was that one inside there, if you can see it, inside there. Get the screw in for the battery. It's a longer serrated one. The battery compartment rather, not the battery. Make sure that's open. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that, CJ? There we are. Wrong way. Now it's right at the bottom, to the left of the spring. Now I can see what I'm doing here. Now, get her in. There we are. So that's all in. Now connect up the cables. I don't need to connect this one up at the moment. I can leave that one down there because I'm not going to put the plate on. So connect up this fella. I need to get the screen on just so we can function it. Oh, that was a bit nice, that one. Is it? He says. Oh, that was a bit too easy, wasn't it? Come on, CG. Oh. Less haste, more speed. They like to go in when they're flat, he says. Is that okay? I think that's good. Then this fella. This is a lot easier to get in without the plate in, believe me. Come on. I might need to get my glass again in a minute. Not sure if there's that in. That feels good, is that in? I need to get my glass. Let's have a look. Yep, she's good, she's good. It's all out of the way so she can sit down properly. This one's a bit tight, the cable on the end here. You've got very limited play with this. It really is a pain, this one. It can be. You've got very limited movement on it to get it in. Oh, look at that. Try and get him out the road. Yep, I think that's there. Wow, that was lucky. Oh, we're very lucky there. And then we get this cable in for the sensor array. These cables have to go in straight. Oh, look at that, straight in, no messing. They lie flat, and this obviously for the motor control. This can be a little tight, this one. Make sure that flaps up, it is. Get it level. If you start at one end, see she's gripped already, I'm not sure if that's correct. There. And then there's a tiny bit of a lip. You could probably just use the edge of that blade to make sure she's sitting square. And then pop her down. There we are. Like I said, I'm not going to connect the side zoom. Everything's in now that I need. That can stay floating, that's not going to do any harm. So I want to get the back cover on. And again, I definitely need the glass for this. So what I do is I put the smaller one in first and try and make sure that I don't put any strain on it. And you have this thing here which knocks against this edge here, this tab, and it really is a pain. But I'm not sure you're going to be able to see this, but believe me, it's not for the want of trying to show you how to do it. It's just you know, you get to be in your own shadow, as it were. So I have to position myself. They don't take a lot of abuse, these cables. The ends can become very weak, and then you're scuppered for the cable then. It'll go in when it's right. Don't try and force it. If you see the flap starting to close when you're pushing the cable in, that means you're too high. when you get it right, it'll just slot in easily. I'm not even sure that's right. No, that's not right. Just bending that back a bit. Cable's open. Right. This time CJ, no, it's time to close. Oh dear. Bear with me. Thought I had it there. Is that it? No. Oh no. I thought that was it. Oh, that's got to be it, surely. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's brand new. It's never been taken out before. Right, so that's in now. And then this one, make sure the brown tab is up. And you've got a bit more cable to play with on this side, and this should be easier to get in, even though I say so. I think that's there. Close it down, and there we are. Now I've got those two in, I don't want to let this go, so I have to just gently push it down and make sure that zoom cable isn't going to snag on anything, which it isn't. And then just gently, she should fall into place. And then once I haven't got this in yet, either the plastic insert, because I had to take this off again to put. Okay, put the battery in and the card. Make sure that's clamped down properly. Switch on. It's flashing because the date and time's not set. And oh, let's take off the and there we are, we have a picture now on the screen. If I take just a simple shot, and it's got the picture now. Oh, you want that one, and that's the blank one before. That's an amplifier I'm working on, and yeah, so it looks, you know, yep, so nice picture now. And so took all these pictures. Oh, let's go back. Yep. So there we are. So what I can do now is get the plate back on and take it out in the field to test it. Since I've had everything stripped out, do some long shots in the daytime and go from there. So that, to all intents and purposes, is another P900, which is been fixed for a, well, which looked like a simple shutter mechanism fix, but you know, getting the camera down, I hope it was clear enough how you could see the breakdown of the camera, and yeah, so that's it. Get it all back together again, get it cleaned up. It's in really good condition, this camera. It's been well looked after. Just needs a bit of clean and a brush up, and yeah, everything back together again, and jobs are good as far as I'm concerned. And thank you very much for watching. I hope this does help you, and or gives you confidence to actually send me your broken camera for a small fee. I've got it up on eBay, service and repair, well, sorry, a repair return service for the P900s. And yeah, it can either be the gearbox, the shutter mechanism, or people have had debris inside and I've had to strip it down and clean it out. And one I had with the IR plate was a speck of something on it, and even when I cleaned up the glass both sides, I think whatever debris was on there had etched into the coating on the plate. But the chap said, take it out, I'll have an IR version and I can add a filter on the end if I need to for normal photos, which was an easy fix really. But I did try and go around the houses to get it sorted for him, but yeah, I did a video on that as well, so he was more than happy to actually see his repair being undertaken by video. So with that, I shall leave it there, and yeah, I will get that back in, not to worry, and that should be it. Thanks very much, and goodbye.